Good evening, everyone. As it is now 7 o'clock, I'd like to call the regular meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission for December 18th to order with a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Evans.
Here.
Commissioner Miller.
Here.
Commissioner Saborn.
Present.
Commissioner Svoboda.
Here.
Commissioner Straker.
Here.
Commissioner Weber, here. Chairman Grund.
Here. With that, we move on to the first order of business today, which is the approval of the minutes. So we'll start with the approval of the minutes from the September 4th joint workshop with the village board concerning the revamp of the zoning code. Comments, corrections? Hearing none? Let's do them all together and then we'll just pass them all at once. Approval of the minutes of the September 29th regular meeting.
So moved.
Comments, questions? And approval of the minutes of the November 20th week regular meeting. Great job, scribes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the September 4th, September 29th, and the November 20th meetings?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Evans.
Abstain.
Commissioner Miller.
Aye.
Commissioner Saborn.
Aye.
Commissioner Svoboda.
Aye.
Commissioner Straker.
Aye.
Commissioner Weber, aye. Chairperson Grund.
Aye for the 4th and the 29th, abstain for the 20th. Okay, we have a big crowd, welcome. For those of you that haven't been here before, I'll get into how we proceed. But this particular point in the meeting is for public comment, not related to anything on the agenda tonight. So if you got a beef about anything and you want to express yourself, the floor is yours. Any comments from the commissioners? Any comment from the public? Great. So now we go on to new business, and the way this works is, we'll take the first case, the petitioner will state their case, staff will give their report, and then trust me when I say everybody in the public that wants to comment on the case will have time to do so. However, keep in mind, this is a public hearing, so if you are gonna speak tonight, at the appropriate time, I'll swear you in. So, just keep that in mind. So as this case, is for a special use, we have to, have a motion to open a public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Evans.
Aye.
Commissioner Miller.
Aye.
Commissioner Saborn.
Aye.
Commissioner Svoboda.
Aye.
Commissioner Straker.
Aye.
Commissioner Weber, aye. Chairperson Grund.
Aye. So the first case is a public hearing for case number 2518, a request for a special use permit from sections 62.25 to allow a cannabis dispensary in an existing C4 local retail residential district for the property located at 9046 31st Street. So anyone that wants to chime in on this case, including the petitioners and their support staff, please stand up so I can swear you in. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
Aye.
Swear the testimony I am about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Great. So first order of business now is the applicant gets to state their case. So one by one, whoever's going to speak, come to the mic, state your name, your position in the group, your address, and the floor is yours.
Well, good evening, happy Thursday, and happy holidays to everyone. My name is David King. I'm president of David King and Associates. We're located at 1011 Lake Street in the Land of Oz, also known as the Village of Oak Park. We're a boutique 5-person commercial real estate firm. We specialize in sales, leasing, management, and development of office, retail, medical, and restaurant real estate. My firm is 32 years old, and I personally made a wrong turn 42 years ago, so I've been doing this a little while. Our firm works in the northern half of the state. This year, the most southern deals, we did a couple deals in Champaign and also Springfield. 50% of our business is corporate, and the other 50% is entrepreneurial. Actually, by doing both, I still have at least a few brain cells left. On a corporate level, we're the exclusive real estate company for H&R Block for the northern half of the state and also for Edward Jones, the financial services company. We do a tremendous amount of hospital work. I've worked for Rush Shore Park Hospital in downtown Rush for over 20 years, helping them on all sorts of facilities. Little tidbit about H&R Block. And all the big corporate players, you know, they're very concerned about their brand, their image. That's crucial for them. Can't have anything happen to their brand. So H&R Block, for as long as we worked for them, 22 plus years, they have a list of prohibitive uses that they will not go into that property or that shopping center if those type of uses are in that shopping center because they believe it's going to tarnish their brand. Now that list changes as years go on, but you know, still to this day in that list, they're not going into a building or shopping center if there's a bar. A lot of their customers are women and they don't want guys hanging out, you know, talking to them as they're trying to go and do their business. Obviously an adult bookstore. They even get so specific as that there could be a fitness use in the shopping center, but it can't be on either side of H&R Block because they've had problems with noise. But one of the uses that was put on to that list in 2009 or 10, who knows, when medical marijuana came out in 2008 was dispensaries. We cannot go into a property that has any dispensary because it was still a brand new thing and nobody understood it, including H&R Block and all the other corporate players. That use, that prohibitive use of marijuana came off that list at least 7 or 8 years ago. What they and a lot of the other corporate big players that go into shopping centers, you know, the use is fine. We don't have a problem with it. Early on, it was the same thing with video poker. When it first came out, the corporate guys and gals would not go into shopping centers that had video poker. Yeah, I don't know about that. Now they could care less. So as time goes on, uses and how people look at them change. Our assignment, 9046 West 31st Street. Ownership, seasoned owner with over a dozen similar buildings, extremely well capitalized, sophisticated, know what they're doing, and the best part is they actually listen to us once in a while. We also represent them on a building in Lyons and 6 buildings in Oak Park. Our company was engaged to rent the entire first floor, which is 4,500 feet. It's split up into 2,900 feet on the corner and then 1,600 feet on the inside. We could package them together, but they're totally split now with a wall dividing, you know, separate heat and air, separate electric, blah, blah, blah. The corner space been vacant since 2019, so that's 6 years. The inside space, 1,600 since 2000. This is obviously data I got from the village. My company's only was engaged 2 years ago. We could certainly combine this space, but I don't want to rent the 2,900 till the 1,600 is done, because the moment I rent the 1,600, a 4,500 foot user is going to come along, and I just shot myself in the foot. Upon taking any assignment anywhere in the northern half of the state, the first thing we do is talk with the municipality in terms of what are the zoning, you know, what's allowed, what's not allowed. You know, we don't look on websites because, no disrespect, sometimes we find a lot of outdated information on village websites. So we go talk to the folks of what's allowed and what's not allowed. We did that, then we go to work. Obviously, we install signage, then we go to the commercial websites and databases, including ours. We're on a half a dozen websites, because in today's world, that's obviously how you market. The two most thorough ways and popular ways to market commercial real estate is CoStar. That is the Bible for the commercial real estate industry. If you're a hardcore commercial broker or developer, doesn't matter, you're on CoStar, you subscribe to it. That's the Bible to have more information. It's the most recognized platform in the United States for commercial real estate. But if you're a residential broker or anybody in this room, so the general public, how do you search anything? Google, commercial real estate, Brookfield, Illinois, storefronts, Brookfield, Illinois, and 9 times out of 10, LoopNet comes up first. My company gets a lot of, now it wants to talk to me. I get a lot of, yeah, I know, Brookfield, Illinois. Okay, be quiet. And it's a great tool for the entrepreneurs. It's a great lead source for us. We send blast emails out to the commercial real estate industry. But, you know, we just don't do all that and sit back and eat bonbons. Boy, that'd be great if we could. We actually we're aggressive. We get out and solicit folks. So, you know, we look at a building, wherever it's at, whatever town it's in, okay, what are the uses that are allowed in zoning? But even more than that, certain uses, they need a minimum width, minimum width, they need a certain ceiling height. You know, there's certain things that they need. So why pitch them if the building doesn't have that or we can't accommodate that, even if it is allowed under zoning? So we only want to go after folks that are allowed under zoning. So quite candidly, I don't have to take off with Thursday even come in front of a zoning board. I don't have a problem being here, but I'd prefer not to be. So one of the uses that would certainly, to some degree, fit this building is in the medical world. That's allowed under C4. So you start with physical therapy. So you go after your physical therapy, Athletico, ATI, Rush, Midwest Orthopedics. The list goes on and on. But you don't, the size and location absolutely would appeal to physical therapy. We've done a lot of those kind of transactions in our lifetime. But you don't go directly to them. They're not going to talk to you. You go to their real estate broker. If you want to talk to HR Block, you talk to my company. They're not talking to you. That's kind of how the game works. So you have to understand, and over time you realize what commercial brokers represent what corporate tenants, and you solicit them. Now, we're working with them all the time because they're coming to us. You know, we're doing HR Block deals and Edward Jones, you know, it's not a huge circle of people that are really in that particular world. Medical, we solicited independent medical groups and independent dentists. You know, here's the reality of the medical world. It is getting harder and harder and almost virtually impossible for an independent physician or a dentist to survive these days. Between fighting with insurance companies and regulation and Medicare, it's just beyond impossible. Rush Downtown is 175 people alone that spend their day fighting with insurance companies. 175 folks. The independents can't do it. So the independents are just going away. In our lifetime, you will not see that independent physician or independent dentist anymore. The dental groups, what's happening there is there's multiple groups that are going around and going to the independent dentist and said, hi, I'd like to buy your practice. Give you a nice number, you're gonna be an employee. I'm dealing with two groups this year that own over 600 practices alone. Everybody's bulking up, so they've got the scale to deal with the regulations and the insurance companies. So, no luck. Now, you know, for the hospitals, they've also grown. They're not taking a space of 4,500. They're now taking 20, 30, 40, 50, 100,000 square foot buildings so they can have all the practices in one building. It's a one-stop shop. You know, nobody's going to the ivory tower anymore. Medical needs to be in the neighborhoods because that's where the residents want to go. So, all right, so no luck with medical after 2 years, and I will tell you, we're really engaged in that field. We know that industry. Okay, let's talk about restaurants. I had several restaurant users looking at it. That'd be a nice use on 31st, I would think. But the reality is the cost to build a restaurant today is just, it's crazy. It was bad before COVID. Now it's insane. You know, take a little 2,900 foot space, you're looking on a low end $600,000 to make it a restaurant. It's just crazy what it costs. And every restaurant that I talk to, they want to take half the parking lot and have an outdoor patio, which I certainly wouldn't want to come to the residents and talk about an outdoor patio with noise. So we tried restaurants, that didn't work. Office space, I mean, 30% of the country now works from home in their pajamas and all that stuff. You know, my daughter works for Google from home on the internet. Could probably backfill the 1,600 with a State Farm and Allstate if I can get the corner going. Retail, retail is allowed in this zone. I'd love to bring retail, real retail. But the reality is the national and the regionals, they're not going there. They're gonna go to whatever they call the plaza on LaGrange Road that's got the Home Depot. We even put H&R Block because they still want to be next, because there's cross traffic. So the national retailers, they're only going into big power centers because they feed off each other. So independent retailers, they're going away faster than the medical or dental. You can't compete against Amazon, against Target. Every community, everyone says they want to shop local, but at the end of the day, they shop based on price. That's just the world we live in. So no retailers. After 2 years of what I will suggest to you a pretty aggressive marketing, very thorough. This is an important client for my company, so we went above and beyond the call of duty. I received a call from this gal over here, Libby, with a lead for a cannabis dispensary. Honestly, a use I had not thought about. I've only successfully done one back in 22. I did in my hometown in Forest Park, which no issues. It's worked well. The city's making money. Everybody's happy. But part of the negotiation, whether it's cannabis or anything else, is, you know, we put together a letter of intent before we do a lease. Letter of intent is going to have who the tenant is, how long it is, what's the rent, who's paying taxes, who's fixing what. But a real important letter of intent for me representing ownership is vetting the potential tenant. I don't care what industry, I'm going to vet you. And you need to show me your financial wherewithal, and don't be putting numbers on a napkin. I want to see tax return and bank statements, which I have seen both from this group that's coming up next. Unequivocally, they have they've showed me tax returns and financial statements that total about 1.2. They're well capitalized to do this. But it's more important that you got the money, you don't know how to do it, it really doesn't matter. You got to still be able to perform. And after talking with Tanya and her group, and you'll hear from her next, I believe collectively they have the expertise and the wherewithal to pull this off. Otherwise, I wouldn't even be here. They wouldn't be here because I would have not made a deal with them. Now, obviously, our transaction is all subject to your approvals and the village council. But I believe the real deal. The one thing the landlord is doing from the exterior, we're going to seal coat and stripe the rear parking lot, whatever, clean that up. A cannabis dispensary is a retailer now. It's just a more modern retailer. The world has evolved. Video poker, nobody wanted it 10 years ago. Now everybody wants it. But I will say one final thing is I am very fortunate to have a special connection to Brookfield. We haven't done a whole lot of real estate in the town, but the last thing we did, I think it was 22, we saw the building on Broadway, a couple doors from the fire station, sold it to an oral surgeon, so I still do once in a while do some independence. But my son and grandkids, they lived for 5 years on East Avenue in LaGrange, and he went to Congress Park School. As a grandparent Uber driver, I cannot tell you how many times I've dropped off and picked up how many school functions. I truly got to understand as a community what a special place Brookfield is. We've eaten at every restaurant. They now live in Countryside. But, my office in Oak Park, I live in Forest Park. I still go through Brookfield at least 3 days a week, if not 4. And I'm taking, 31st down to Maple or Prairie and cutting through to Plainfield Road and all that good stuff. But when I'm driving, because I'm a real estate guy, I'm always taking different streets. I'm a visual guy. I'm looking, is that a new storefront? Is it an empty storefront? Oh, the CVS went out or this went new. That's how I learn and understand what's going on in the world. My ex, when we would meet a new couple, she would talk to the gal and she would say, if I was only a building, he might pay more attention to me, but whatever. But what I've seen driving through the town is just the incremental changes in seeing new little 6-flat, 10-flats, and this project that I learned about on Ogden Avenue by the train station there. You pull that off, that puts you on the map like no other, puts you on the map. There's some similarities between Forest Park and Brookfield, beyond similarities. Both blue-collar towns that are starting to evolve. Forest Park, we were always the bastard stepchild of Oak Park. And respectfully, you've always had that same challenge with LaGrange. And we're stepping up our game. There's no doubt you are. No more stepchild stuff. We're a competitor. And I truly see that happening in Brookfield. I am hoping to be part of many more things. I truly thank you for your time, and let me introduce you to Tanya Griffin.
Thank you. My name is Tanya Griffin. I am speaking on behalf of the Laws family, Water and Trees, and of course, Prolific Dispensary. Thank you, by the way, for everyone coming. I know this is a a new use that most of you are not used to. So I want to explain what it means to have a dispensary, how it fits into the community a little bit, and some of the changes. We got a big change today. I don't know if anyone was watching the news, but the president reclassified cannabis today. That's a big, big deal for the industry. It's been categorized as a Schedule I drug. Really, I think since the 70s. And today it was reclassified as a Schedule III drug. So what that does is it acknowledges the medical benefits of cannabis. It puts it down with Tylenol with codeine. It really shifts it down and acknowledges that it is beneficial, is not really addictive, is part of what it means to be in Schedule III. The big thing it does for the cannabis industry is it blows open our ability to research the plant. That's a big, big deal. Research has been breaking through. We have about 53,000 studies registered with the NIH, everything from MS to cancer to epilepsy to PTSD, anxiety, pain. But we're going to see a huge amount of research coming forth now that this change happened literally at 12:30 this afternoon across the board with research, which is a big deal. It absolutely affects our social equity applicant, the Laws family. Ever since the pilot program, and before that, of course, this actually started with Al Capone. We have a tax law called 280E, which means that if you are selling a Schedule I drug, you're subject to a tax code, 280E, which says you get no standard deductions. What happened today is that was removed, essentially, so that these cannabis businesses, CRBs, companies, now can act in the world like every other small business and take full standard deductions. That's going to be a big change to the industry. It's going to lower prices, I presume, and give a lot more flexibility to the growth of the industry, particularly in Illinois, but certainly across the U.S. So that was a big, big deal. I'm going to switch on. I thought, did anybody hear that news? Or was that news to everybody? Yeah, it was. So in my world, that was a big, big deal anyway. All right, so my kids didn't necessarily want me to do this, but I raised my kids in LaGrange, and then I moved over to Western Springs. So I've got 6 of them, 4 of them. They all went to LT. Yay! That is my daughter-in-law, Maggie. That's my son. I mean, in this room, you've got Bakers, O'Malley's, Griffins. We have a lot of Brookfield residents that have all moved to Brookfield and are raising their families here. This is absolutely my community. I was supposed to say my address, and I didn't. I apologize. I live mostly in Denver, Colorado, but because my grandchildren, those guys, Baker and Penny, live on Elm Street, I am here a lot and will be here a lot more with Prolific, which is awesome. All right, Libby, let's see if I got this. All right. So my company, Water and Trees, has been around since 2009. I started, after I got back from Ireland, I got into building medical practices. That was my focus, women's and family health. It's been my focus since I was a lactation consultant and had kangaroo kids back in 1995. Focusing on helping others in their health and wellness has always been what I've done, and I am super passionate about it. I've built surgical centers, cardiology practices. Sam and I together did some compound pharmacies and home health. My pivot to cannabis was in 2012. I was sitting in a surgical center in Pilsen and read that medical cannabis was coming to Illinois. It absolutely made sense to me. I'm an Irish Catholic. Alcohol has ripped like wildfire through my family. So cannabis to me made sense on a number of levels. One, having children and grandchildren, I understood that cannabis does not kill. It has medical benefits not only to PTSD patients and cancer patients and MS patients, epileptic kids, but to seniors, I'm a senior, to the biggest age group using cannabis demographically, statistically, is over 55. Those are the people that we are serving. LaGrange, Hinsdale, Western Springs, LaGrange Park, Burr Ridge, these communities around Brookfield have said no to cannabis. When I first made the switch and decided that I think I can get out there and help in the world of cannabis, Brookfield was the first place I came in 2012. You guys were not ready yet. It was not a yes to cannabis, and that's okay. I did end up winning the first round of medical licenses, dispensaries. I partnered with a large company as an owner called The Green Solution. I put a dispensary near my hometown of Belleville, Illinois, right on the border of St. Louis, and another, you know what? I'm going to show you pictures. And another at ISU. There we go. So that's The Green Solution. So that one right there is in Sauget, just up from my house in Belleville. And if you look at the pictures, you can see how we build these things. These are high-end retail. We invest millions of dollars to build out these facilities. When the medical pilot program advanced and Illinois voted to do adult use and combine that with medical, our 2 stores became 4. At their peak, we were doing $80 million in annual sales between those 4 stores, to give you an idea of where the cannabis industry has gone, how it is outpacing alcohol by leaps and bounds. So if you the quick Google search, if you look at the statistics, alcohol is losing very quickly against cannabis, of course. Okay. It seems like a family affair. Yes, that is my brother, Andrew Cordes. So Andrew came on and ran those 4 dispensaries, worked through the transition with the IDFPR, and then continued to run them for Juicy, Beyond Hello, which is the multi-state operator that I sold those dispensaries to. Andrew then, in 2021, came on board with Water and Trees, and since that time we continue to build dispensaries, soup to nuts, across the country, but very particularly in Illinois. And this is how we do it. I love community neighborhood dispensaries, and there's no community that's as important to me as Brookfield, because this is where my kids and my grandchildren live. So that is why I'm standing here with you today. Andrew now is fully on board with Water and Trees, as is Joe Ring. Joe has been in retail for well over 30 years, spent 27 years owning chains of record and gaming stores across the Pacific Northwest. Obviously, gaming and records are now free. Joe came on board and runs Water and Trees since 2014. He manages our team, he designs our dispensaries, and very importantly, hires our people. You know, is very instrumental in building the teams and navigating those relationships. Because if you remember, you know, dispensaries are retail. There really is no difference. And now that we've gone from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3, we really fit into the retail dynamic. So we're managing a cross-section of Starbucks basically paid employees, all the way up to our general managers that'll make anywhere from $75,000 to $85,000 a year. Our intention absolutely is to hire these people in a perfect world from this community and the neighboring communities. And we intend to be very involved in the community for sure. Let's see what I got next here. Okay, so we've built several dispensaries in the state of Illinois, and we absolutely do it soup to nuts. These are our Snap Canna dispensaries. Again, we've both built these for the Patel's family, very similar to the Laws, who I cannot wait to introduce you to. The way the program works in Illinois is you're a social equity applicant that wins these licenses. Very often, what happens is the multi-state operators, so the Crescos, the GTIs, the Sunnysides, if you get any of you shop at a dispensary, you've been to these big dispensaries that are owned by, the $100 million club, and that's certainly underestimating the numbers. Then you have legitimate social equity applicant winners, mom and pop stores that fit into the community, that work in the community, that show up every day as part of the store that they own, and that is what Joe and I really strive to build. So Snap Canna, we put one of them right, I don't know if anybody knows where Wally's is in Pontiac, but right off Highway 55. We put a small 2,500 square foot dispensary inside the Shell station. If you can see, if you're looking at it, of course, this one's called Snap Canna. In Brookfield, there will be no paraphernalia, no pot images. By looking at the store, you would have no idea that it's a cannabis dispensary, other than the fact that if you can read, you will read the words prolific dispensary. Beyond that, you would have zero indication that it is selling marijuana or cannabis, and there would certainly be no smells. In the state of Illinois, we have very, very strict regulations around how we operate a dispensary. There is no open cannabis ever. Everything comes from licensed manufacturers. It is lab tested, which means we're providing a safe alternative in the community. And everything is prepackaged. So if you look at the store, you can see that as a consumer, you can't even touch the product. You can't smell it, you can't touch it. As far as security goes, and this is all dictated by the state of Illinois, it's intense security. So we have surveillance 24/7 that taps into the state of Illinois. We hold that footage for 90 days. We are obligated to surveil everything around the premises and inside the premises. We have a security guard, unarmed of course, who is there at all hours if the store is open. So the reality is dispensaries are safer than a bank. They're more secure than a bank, and we have eyes on everything in the area. So that's Snap Canna. We're opening another one in Champaign, Illinois, right by the football stadium, and we do this across the country. And again, Joe and I have sort of shifted our perspective. We don't work with multi-state operators, but we love families like this, who have won the license fair and square and are gonna show up every day and be a part of the community. All right, Brookfield needs a dispensary I would shop at, and that is, see if I can get down there. Really, that is no joke. I am, I'm not gonna tell you my age, but I'm old. And and at this point in my life, I choose, if I'm going to use something to help me sleep or for pain, I don't choose alcohol. I do choose cannabis, but when I go to a dispensary, it's gotta be very high end, in my opinion. It's gotta be quick and easy checkout. All of these things we are extremely good at building. So what's happened in the world of dispensaries is 65% of the orders, if not a little more, are actually done online. It's a robust ordering system. When you're going to pick up your product, it's usually already prepared for you. It's very, very high security. So to get into a cannabis dispensary, you have a reception area that's probably as big as those tables over to there. And if you are not 21 years of age, if you do not have a valid ID on you, there is absolutely no way you are getting in that dispensary. This is not a liquor store. If you are not 21 years of age and have a current ID, you may not get into the dispensary. It's a small waiting area. We do not allow children into the waiting area. So the only way any children would even know this is a dispensary is Well, the smart ones could read the word dispensary, but then they would have to back into understanding what a dispensary is. There is nothing else that it would really indicate a dispensary. Okay, let's keep going and show you guys. All right, here we go. So this is the Laws family. These guys wrote their application and legitimately won a license in Illinois. And the reason why I'm stressing the importance of that is not easy to do. The way the cannabis industry has evolved is it's a bunch of big money players. So to have a legitimate family who has won this, and I'm going to introduce you. Now, William and Amber's mom and William's wife, presiding judge, I got it, Marjorie Laws, passed away, and she is there in that picture, and this was the family dream. So this was a big part of everyone collectively. Amber is management at Amazon, so she's back and forth from New York City, but has such a good sense of branding and marketing and digital marketing and how we reach out. William, we have a first right of refusal to have the apartment upstairs. So we intend to be very, very active in the retail store. Joe and I can tell you, having run and operated retail stores for 30 years, if the owner is present and communicating with the people who, with the consumers that come into the store, it changes the dynamics. It changes the dynamics for the team, the employees, the customers, and that's the dispensary we're going to build. William Sr. So William spent his life as a defense attorney, and I'm going to tell you guys why this dispensary is called prolific, because we've got some bibliophiles here. I'm going to bring it up. Marjorie, Amber, William, I may leave you out, but William Sr. are huge readers. They love books, hence that's why we've called the dispensary prolific. So you'll get to, hopefully, if this is approved, you'll get to know the Laws family, and they intend to be an integral part of Brookfield. And when I say that, as I raise my kids in LaGrange, we obviously, in the summers, we're always down at the music festivals. Brookfield always drew all of us in, and I was telling the Laws how awesome this town is and why we need to be here. Okay, so this is our building. It has sat vacant and derelict since 2019. I personally will argue that that is far more dangerous than a cannabis dispensary. It is a absolutely terrific building. It was built in 1960. It's built like a fortress. If you guys get in there, it's got these cement pillars in it. What we intend to do in it, it's only 2,900 square feet. Actually, I'm going to show you, and this is loud. So the real colors, because Amber just ran it through our marketing agency, so the logo is done, and instead of those bright hippie colors, which clearly I imposed on them, it's going to be pearl after her mom, Marjorie, and we've done a series of graduating green colors. There will be lots of foliages. If you look at this dispensary, you can see what I mean when I say this is not a place where you see cannabis or pot out lying around. And we've gone very far the other direction, understanding that the majority of orders are made online. And we have built a remarkable tech stack. We're using StrainBrain, which allows you to get on your phone and look up the terpenes, the cannabinoid count, compare it to other products. One thing I didn't mention about Andrew is we are the buyers for over a dozen Illinois dispensaries. What that means is not only we do all of the procurement, but we do the inventory controls, we do the deals. So because of that, we expect to get really good deals for the town of Brookfield, analogous to anything an MSO does. We're currently buying for 2 major groups in the state of Illinois, and Andrew oversees that. So this is what the inside of a dispensary looks like. When you come in, you're not going to see a bunch of blaring TVs, bongs. That is really not what we're about. This is pretty much what it looks like. You come in, you have a reception area, there's a security guard and a receptionist. We check your ID, we get you into our loyalty program, we have some conversations with you, and then you're brought into this restricted access area. Or actually, the store floor is not the restricted, a limited access area. But all you're going to see there is never will you see marijuana on the floor. It's empty packages. Could be an empty package of a gummy or mostly it's empty packages of gummies or brands, but there is absolutely no product on the floor. We build a vault inside the dispensary. We encapsulate that vault from top to bottom. All product at all times is locked down in that vault. When we get it to you, the customer, we put it through a pass-through window. It's then checked out. IDs are checked again to make sure that person is qualified to buy the product, and only then is it allowed to leave the building. Under no circumstances is cannabis ever allowed to be consumed in or around the dispensary. We have cameras everywhere. We have security guards. You will never see someone using cannabis near us. Now, they can walk across to the ice cream store. I don't know about that, but we would never allow it in the premises. Again, if you've ever been into a dispensary, we will do it different. This is a neighborhood dispensary. We aren't having blaring TVs. There will be some product out, but the real relationship is between our sales associate, who is very well trained about the use and application and dosing of cannabis, including to medical benefits. And it'll really be more of an interchange and a relationship between the consumer and the sales associate. Checkout is quick and easy. So assuming that we have over 65% of people purchasing online, I can go back to the building, but if you guys remember the building, we've got parking just along the side there. We usually, our average time of a consumer going into dispensary is, for a pickup is around 5 minutes. So you're looking at 5 to 7 minutes. So we don't have anyone hanging out at a cannabis dispensary. It's just not how the industry, has evolved. Yes, this is the neighborhood dispensary you could bring your mother-in-law to. It is absolutely high-end. Our job, if you invite us into Brookfield, will not only to be a part of the community, but to listen to you and to make sure we're curating products that fit the needs of the community and the extended community. We do expect to be drawing visitors from LaGrange, certainly, absolutely. LaGrange Park, Oak Park, Oak Brook are all currently having to go to Broadview, Riverside, or Westmont. If they really want to make a check, they have to go all the way over to Hodgkins, but that's the only place that you can go to a cannabis dispensary. We are very conservative in our projections. Out of the gates, we're expecting about $2 million in annual in sales revenue. We expect that to move fairly quickly to $4 million in annual sales. The benefit of cannabis is that it's been taxed all up and down. The only reprieve we just got is the one I just told you, which is 280E, but 3% of that sales revenue goes back to the community of Brookfield. So we don't even necessarily want to participate only in generating sales tax and building the community, but the Laws family, me in particular, certainly my kids, want to be a vital part of this community in every way we can. Now, I want to address, in my final kind of statement here, concerns around traffic, because I think that's one of the big things. I hope I addressed what it means if you have children. Of course, I have grandchildren in the community, but what that means. Now, we're on 31st Street, and next door to us, there's a small, I think, residential unit between us, but we're next door to Brookfield Liquor, who I believe has been there for some time now. I have to address the conversation around children and education. We've had a 100-year war on drugs, and it has been incredibly dangerous. We have locked up whole communities of people. We have learned through every statistic that you can try to find that the war on drugs did not work, that shaming these things is detrimental to our kids. It can lead to overdose because we're not teaching and educating about what these things are, and that is devastating. That is the very opposite of what I have sort of positioned myself to do in life, and that is part and parcel of why building these cannabis dispensaries in a way that is clean and fits into the neighborhood and works within the community and neighborhood is so important to me. I won't get on my soapbox about shaming cannabis, but I think we need to be very careful in doing that. And we should think about educating and providing these tools to the community. So I think that's it. What do I do now? Pass it on? Pass the torch? Yeah?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any other comment, hold on, is there any other commentary from the petitioner at this point?
No.
Okay, so now we turn it over to staff for their report, and then we'll open it up to public comment.
Do you need the remote? Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Which one is it? This one? Okay, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, and most importantly, the folks out in the audience, I'm Scott Feiger. I'm the interim planner here for the village. Obviously, this is the introduction. We set these PowerPoints up from the way we used to do these meetings when I went first and the petitioner went second. So there's some overkill in here. This is, we're here for the special use footer dispensary as a retail use. The commission knows I always put a survey in. This is a survey of the property. The building's in the front, the parking lot is in the rear there. This will show it to you better. Of course, it's outlined in red. It's zone C4, commercial to the east and west, single-family residential A and A1 are the districts to the north and south. Of course, we all know the building, two-story, three apartments up, retail on the first floor. We did put on here, of course, the 6 parking spaces on Park, and then the relatively new 12-car public parking lot across the street on the other corner. There's the corner, other parking lot. That aerial photograph is before the, I think it was automotive store that was demolished for the parking lot. Oh, I should back up and, I went the wrong way, pardon me. And the non-conforming multifamily unit to the east there between this retail building and the other liquor store there. So, as Ms. Griffin said, oh, that's the wrong address. That's the other hearing. Ground floor is 4,400. We got 3 units up, 11-car parking lot in the back, total 9,500 square foot lot. This is what it looks like today. That's what we have. It's been that way for 5 years. 5 years? 5 years, 6 years. This is the floor plan of the prolific dispensary. Up in the upper right-hand corner, you can see that's where you come into the waiting area that Ms. Griffin talked about, and then the sales area just to the south of that, I'll call it, just below that. Then everything else is back office, if you will, the vault and all of that. Two handicapped accessible restrooms up in the upper left-hand corner for the customers and staff. You saw these pictures earlier. The standards for a special use permit. We have 3 in our ordinance. They're found in 622821. Compatibility of the use with the intent and purpose of the district. Compatibility of the use with what's around the district, around the property, I should say. And then if there's any special actions that are necessary to modify the unique special unusual impacts which special use may cause or intensify on properties in the area. In your packets, you had the written text from the applicant that addressed these 3 items. Staff has reviewed those, and of course, with our knowledge of the ordinance, we feel that they do meet those standards. I hit the wrong button again. Let me back up. So It is a retail use in a retail district. Of course, Route 31st Street, excuse me. As it says in your staff report, there's 14,000 cars a day. All the retail districts in the village are corridor commercial, so it means they're one lot deep on both sides of the street with residential properties to the north and south of Ogden Avenue, and north and south 31st Street. We even say basically north and south of the Eight Corners retail district up on Grand Boulevard. So all of those things taken into consideration, it is the staff's opinion that they meet those three standards, and that we would respectfully recommend that you recommend the mayor and the village board approve the special use permit. We do have several conditions we think that should be imposed. The hours of operation, one of the things that we talk about with special use is the impact on the neighborhood. Going off on a side, a good friend of mine owns a record store, not in the Chicago area. It's a 24-hour cannabis dispensary across the street from his store. And he doesn't necessarily like the 24-hour aspect of that use. Our use proposed here, 9 to 9 Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. 6 p.m. 6 p.m. on Sunday. That was their proposal, and we recommend that be a condition of approval should you agree. Special use is granted only to prolific dispensary. Back in the day, special uses like a zoning variance went with the property, and the owners could change and so on. Current thought is that we want to tie it to, in this case, prolific dispensary and the Laws family. Again, because of our experience here in the village of Brookfield, our ordinance talks about a 6-month, get this thing started in the 6 months should be approved, so we don't have buildings under construction for so long. So that's that third condition there. Similar to an abandonment of a non-conforming use, if it goes dark for 6 months, even if it's planned on being reopened, we recommend that special use go away. Should they reopen, they come back for another special use and start all over again. And then last, as Mr. King said, we had said, hey fellas, the parking lot is in need of some repair, and they have agreed that they would seal coat and restripe that rear parking lot. So we make that the fifth and final condition of our recommendation. And I hope I was brief and succinct and thorough. That's all I have.
Questions of staff at this point?
Residential remains above, or is that not in the plans currently?
No, the 3 units above will stay. As Ms. Griffin testified, they may rent one themselves.
Right,
Well, the
and
Law
they-
family,
They
Laws family.
currently have tenants?
I believe they are not occupied. What'd you say? Oh, they are.
Other questions?
So I'm told they are occupied, my mistake.
Okay, so to segue into that, I was a little surprised that there wasn't a parking site plan. As a retail space and as a residential space under the current code, and I say that, I'm smiling, under the current code, there's parking requirements for this building. And are those requirements met based on the site plan?
They are met. 11 cars is an existing situation, and there's no change in use. The 3 units upstairs was built with those 3 units. It was built with retail uses on the first floor and office, which has the same parking requirement. So it was, 6 years ago, it was retail. It's still retail, so the parking remains the same. So there's no variation necessary. When we started, I should say, we looked at that and said, okay, these are the types of buildings why the village expended the money and built a parking lot across the street.
Okay, great. Any other questions to staff at this point?
Are any of the 11 stalls accessible stalls?
Well, it's gonna be restriped. If you looked at in the parking lot today, it's really not striped at all. So we'll stripe it with a handicap space
Okay. Does that reduce the quantity?
by 1,
So instead of 11, we'd be down to 10?
10.
Other questions of staff? Okay, before I open it up to the public, I just want to reiterate, we are an advisory board here. So we may vote tonight, we may not, we'll see how it goes. But the village board has the final say. They're the ones that say yea or nay. So just keep that in mind. We always love when people come to see us, because we very seldom do, and there's a lot of people out there. As, just to be somewhat, use some discretion, I know you've come with, some of you have come with prepared comments. If you've heard a comment already, try not to repeat it again, because it just lengthens the process. So with that said, the way this works now, whoever wants to come from the public first will come to the mic and state your name and address, and the mic is yours. We don't respond to your comments, we just listen. And then when all the public comments are heard, the petitioner will have an opportunity to rebut or add or do whatever they need to do to answer the comments. So with that said, the floor is yours, young lady.
Were I still young, that'd be great. Okay. All right.
Name and address, please.
My name is Lisa Coy. My address is 9114 30th Street on Brookfield. So I am blocks away from this proposed business. And I hope you find a really good place to anchor your business. Maybe in LaGrange or Burr Ridge, that's also good options, because those are very wealthy areas that, are centrally located as well, just FYI. But as I recognize this is a business, this is also my neighborhood, okay? And it's less than two blocks away from my house, and this concerns me with this location. It's a small area that may be coded for business, but it is also a residential area. The families walk to the ice cream shop that was referenced earlier. There's a small parking lot there that is for public parking, but as you spoke about $2 million, $4 million in revenues possibly being generated, that indicates that there is going to be more traffic going to this area. It's very close to the zoo, so visitors that are driving down 31st Street would be privy of seeing the dispensary there. And personally, if I'm coming from Iowa and I'm driving down, going to the Brookfield Zoo, and I see a dispensary on my left, I'm going to question what kind of area. Now, understandably, I understand that it's a medical dispensary, so and also I'm not sure if it's just medical or if you or you can go in and if you have a headache and get yourself a gummy. I mean, that's a possibility, so I do understand that. But that is also a concern with the optics. It's not just about the dollars. It can also be about the optics. The traffic parking patterns is also be an issue as far as I'm concerned, because of the way it is currently. When 31st is very congested, people come flying down 30th Street. And we see that on the regular. So that's not because there's a cannabis store there, that's just general traffic patterns. So now you add a business that may have a lot of traffic coming through, and that is going to also impact my life, okay? Property values, okay? I did actually do some research on this, and there's not a whole lot of really good information out there about how a dispensary will impact property values. That is not tilted by a organization that sponsors the study. So I did find the government website that did have a study that spoke to this, and it says emerging evidence suggests that a dispensary density is associated with marijuana and prevalence and frequency, including daily or nearly daily use for adolescents and young adults, considering that dispensary sales are to daily, near daily users, and the geographic patterning of marijuana dispensaries may hold public health consequences for those who live nearby. I too am a nurse. I work at Loyola, and I work there Monday through Friday. I work in the operating room. And so we do see a lot of people that utilize marijuana and byproducts on a regular basis. It does impact the patient's ability to maintain under general anesthesia. FYI, it's not a harmless drug. It does increase the amount of tolerances that you have when getting other treatments. So all that stuff has to be taken into account with anesthesia when they're giving general anesthetics. Okay, that's a sidebar. Okay, that doesn't particularly impact me personally in my house, so I'm gonna just kind of throw that out there. It's still illegal federally, even though Donald Trump just signed something today about that, rescheduling it. But it still remains federally illegal, even though it's illegal in the state of Illinois. We all know that. We find also speaking about home prices, I found a article that says we find a statistically significant negative effects recreational marijuana dispensaries on housing values that are relatively localized. Home prices within a 0.36 mile area around a new dispensary fall by 3 to 4% on average relative to control areas. Zoned is a website that I believe it's a realty website, but it seemed to be a little tilted towards favorability of marijuana dispensaries. And it said, the article was actually named, "What Impact Do Cannabis Dispensaries Have on Property Values?" And it was a 2024 article in January. Amidst the confusion among landowners and other studies by the National Association of Realtors revealed the mixed results. A survey revealed that among the states where recreational marijuana has been legal for the longest, 27% saw a decrease in residential property value, while 12% saw values increase. Now that's no particular state. There's multiple states that this was referred to. Medical use is legitimate, but many people are not using it for cancer, pains, or nausea. They're using it for recreational use. And I have a hard time getting behind my life being impacted because somebody wants to get a gummy. And I make it sound a little flippant by saying that, but again, I'm speaking to my impact on my life, the property value. I've been a resident of Brookfield since 2003. We moved here when my son was 5 years old, so he could go to school in the Brookfield area. The Brook Park School, the amount of kids that cross by Bill's Place going towards Brookfield is immense. If you've ever been there to see how many people are crossing Maple to 30th Street, you'd see how many kids there are. And they're walking in the direction of that area. Now, I understand it's not going to say marijuana. It's not going to say that. But parents talk, neighbors talk, kids hear. And not to say that that's going to entice them to do anything, but it is also a concern for the property values, okay? And if they do get the license to work within this building, you know, I honestly don't know how that's going to impact me. So that's the reason why I'm here speaking, is to be a little selfish and kind of help represent my neighbors, because we are a very close-knit neighborhood, and I don't, you know, fault anybody that wants to do marijuana. You do you, but just as long as it doesn't impact me. So again, thank you for your time, and I really do hope that you find a place that works for you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Who's next on the side?
Megan Cullen. I live about 4 blocks from where this proposed dispensary will be put in place. And I had a question for you guys before I start. What is the radius with which you have to live within that location, proposed location, that you would get a letter? I'm wondering why I didn't get a letter.
Our municipal code says 250 feet. I
Really?
think in this case, we did 500 feet. I think there were several hundred letters sent out. I had the last year.
Interesting. Okay. So, one, the whole thing with business not wanting to go there is an untruth, because I know that there was a daycare that wanted to go there within the past 2 years, and that was shot down by this group, or whoever proposed this group at the time. So there are businesses that want to go there, they just weren't allowed to. Two, the woman who spoke about living in LaGrange and Western Springs and Riverside, there's a reason that there's no dispensaries in those towns, and it's not a coincidence that you don't live within a couple blocks of a dispensary. So the fact that you think that's going to definitely nobody wants to buy a home within blocks of a dispensary. So when you have people not wanting to move to Brookfield anymore, or definitely leaving Brookfield because of that, property values are going to decrease, and I think the revenue that you would get from a cannabis store would not outweigh the loss in house sales that would happen because of that. Brookfield is just starting to be on the upswing and is a really desirable neighborhood, and this is going to impact that greatly. People don't want to live within blocks of a dispensary. You have Ogden Avenue on the south end of Brookfield with tons of businesses and possible locations for a dispensary where there's much greater traffic and much better space for that. Don't put it in a residential area where children are crossing. The police department in the village did a study just at the beginning of the school year about children and the routes that they take to go to S.E. Gross Middle School. Kids are riding bikes and walking. That intersection of 31st and Maple, as I'm sure you all know, is the worst intersection, the most dangerous intersection where the most accidents happen already in Brookfield. And now you're going to put this a block down from that, which is not going to help anything. It will most definitely make it worse. So you're going to endanger our kids even more than they already are, having to cross 31st on their bikes and walking. And I'll leave it at that.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Deanne Corello, and I live at 9104 Roach Avenue, which is less than a half a block away from the proposed site. I've been a lifelong resident, and I love this community, and I love what you guys are doing with the downtown, and I appreciate the petitioner coming in and informing us about their proposal, and it's great to see people wanting to invest. But I am opposed to this proposal for several reasons. First, the location is not appropriate. Although I'm not particularly fond of a dispensary in a village, if we are going to allow one, it should not be located in an area designed to accommodate, or it should be located in an area designed to accommodate higher traffic volumes and parking demand, such as downtown on Grand or Broadview Corridor, or as the previous person mentioned, Ogden. This stretch of 31st is not suited for that type of use. Traffic on 31st is already a concern. The intersection regularly experiences congestion and accidents, and people are trying to avoid the light. They cut down Roach Avenue all the time, especially too when we have holiday lights going on. People are just going down our street. And so adding a high turnover retail business at this location will increase traffic coming down our street that already struggles with it. Another major concern is a lack of a traffic impact study. My understanding is that it's not required, but a few years ago when the daycare was proposed, they provided a traffic impact. And that concluded the daycare would generate a 1% or less increase in traffic. And despite that impact, and again, I wasn't here for that, what I'm reading is that because of traffic concerns and parking, it was denied. And so a business now that's gonna have greater traffic and parking demand is gonna be coming here. They should be having to do a similar analysis before anything is agreed upon. Parking is also another issue. 31st, nobody can park on there. Nobody's gonna be parking across over on the 3100 block of Park or Oak. They're gonna be parking over by Park and Roach Avenue. And although we recently constructed a public parking lot, the next case on tonight's agenda involves reducing that parking supply, and it cites that parking lot as a mitigating effect, a reason for allowing that use to be lowered. So now we're gonna have two businesses using a parking lot that's not that big. It's small, but it's not gonna be able to accommodate traffic from two businesses now. Compatibility and community character must also be considered. The site is directly across from a family-oriented ice cream shop within a block of a Montessori school and immediately adjacent homes. Now, I did some FOIA requests of some of our surrounding communities. Brookfield has an unusually high concentration of liquor license, 37 in total, including 12 bars and 5 liquor stores. and we have a population of about 19,000 with 3 miles. By comparison, LaGrange Park is 13,000, has 12 licenses that they issue, 1 bar, and Westchester has 26 licenses, no 2 bars, and Riverside has 13 licenses, 3 bars. This shows that Brookfield's corridor already carries a disproportionate share of higher impact uses for adult uses. Let's not add more adult uses to our family-oriented community. Additional information from a FOIA request from Westchester shows that the Maribus Cannabis Dispensary at Roosevelt and LaGrange has, in the past 6 months, have had 9 police reports related to unwanted individuals, fights, and drinking in the parking lots. This reinforces the concern that placing a cannabis dispensary in a residential adjacent corridor could generate similar operation and safety issues. And I understand that they're not gonna allow it, but it's gonna come into our backyards. It's my backyard. Approval of this request also sets a precedent for similar uses along this corridor. Once a high impact use is approved so close to residential homes, it becomes increasingly difficult to deny future requests. You have to be so careful. Even if they violate what you set up, I work in local government. I know you're not gonna be able to get them out. You have to be so careful about this. So for these reasons, I really hope you deny the request. I hope you do find a place, but this location is not the right place. Thank you.
Good evening. Mark Corello, 9104 Roach. Been a lifelong resident of Brookfield. I live within a few hundred feet of the property in question. I'll start my comment by saying I don't have a problem with dispensaries at all, or even recreational use. I think it's great for has great medical uses. However, I do have a bit of a problem with it coming into our town for a couple of reasons. As my wife, the last person to speak, just stated, we already have 37 liquor licenses outstanding, gambling machines in virtually every one of those establishments. We're just, our business mix and our tax mix is weighing way too heavy on these so-called sin taxes. We need to get some more wholesome businesses in our community and maintain that community name that we have. We don't need to go the other way with our image. The other concern I have is that yes, President Trump did sign an order today reclassifying it as a Schedule 3 drug rather than a Schedule 1, but federally it is still illegal. And if we set the precedent of issuing a permit for a dispensary, we could very well be putting any federal funding or grant money in jeopardy. I know some people might argue against that, but Chicago called itself a sanctuary city, and now the federal government has sent in immigration officers and said, nope, we're enforcing it. And the governor, the mayor, they can't do anything because federal law does trump other laws. So as a taxpayer, I don't want to put that in jeopardy either. Thank you.
My name is Suzanne Chagru, and I live at 3124 and a half Oak Avenue. The end of my alley comes out directly onto this building. I am concerned by the parking traffic, as most people are. If there are 11 spaces right now for this building, one of which is to be handicapped, so that's going away. There are 3 apartments, so that's 10. If there are 3 apartments, and these people, I don't know, do they use those parking spaces in that area? Then you've only got 7. That ice cream shop is super, super busy, and there are other businesses on the other side to the west of this particular building. 31st Street is unique in this area between Prairie and Maple in terms of the number of businesses. I heard, I believe this gentleman mentioned, that we fall within other business districts where there are businesses on either side of the street, and then a block in is residential. There's one business on the south side of 31st Street, and that used to be, I believe, a gas station or something, and it's now a medical center, and that's it. There's no other residential there's no other business on the south side of 31st Street. That's all residential over there. And there's no way that I don't think that somebody is gonna come down my block, which is Oak, because we have signs saying local resident parking only, because years ago, when Burrish's Lobster House was there, and then that property was all rezoned when they sold it and turned it into multifamily homes, as well as some single-family homes. There were people who would come because the parking lot would be so full, and they would come and they would park on the street. I grew up in Western Springs, and it was not until I got to high school, to be honest with you, that I was even really aware of Brookfield or what people thought of Brookfield, because, you know, I played with the kids within a block or so of my house. And when I got to high school, I heard a lot, and it was kids from LaGrange and the Grange Park. You can tell the Brookfield kids, they're all in a gang, because they got a belt, and they wear their belt buckle at the side instead of in the center of their pants. What the heck? Who cares? But I don't think that this is a good business for our community, because it's been stated, go to Western Springs, go to LaGrange, go to LaGrange Park. They got money. Go to Burr Ridge. They got money. People are excited from Oak Brook to come and buy their gummies in Brookfield. They're really excited to come to Brookfield to buy their gummies. They can't go. There's shops at the mall that are empty. And I feel that Ogden Avenue, something like that, where there's a more concentrated, no, not concentrated, but a more, I feel it's a better fit. It's both sides, everything, even central downtown. Go right ahead. And there is such a thing, even though it doesn't say that it sells marijuana there, there is such a thing as a, I believe it's called a curious nuisance, or it's something when you have a building, you got to put a fence up around it, because people might be interested in seeing what's going on in there, and they may trespass on the property and fall down a hole that's been dug in the content. I know it's a nuisance, but that's what I feel this is. You got a bright sign, and every dispensary I've ever gone by has big windows, looks inviting. It's got a lot of graphics. It's new. It's modern. It's this. It's that. Oh, what's that? What's that? What's that? And that to me is a nuisance. You don't know what it is. Maybe you're not talking to your kids. Maybe they're too young. You know, maybe they're 3 and 4 years old. But when they get a little bit older, they're going to be like, "Hey, Mom, what's that? What's that thing with the purple and the gold and the green and the orange? You know, looks a little psychedelic. You know, the prolific dispensary." Do you know what I'm talking about? This nuisance thing, in particular with construction. I guess you're not supposed to talk, but public news. I don't know, but that's what I got to say. Not for me.
Hi, my name's Garrett Cernick. I'm 9509 Monroe in Brookfield, so that's just under a mile from this location. I've lived in this area for 30 years. I'm a Brookfield homeowner, a mother of 2 children who attend school here. Actually, one of them attended school here downstairs. I'm also a small business owner in town. And I'm here to express my concern placing a cannabis dispensary near a large elementary school and just around the corner, 400 feet from the Montessori school, right around the corner. I know that there's laws like protecting the schools and the areas there. I'm like, this is not about legalization or opposing legalization. It's about protecting the children and making thoughtful decisions on land use. Our children walk, bike, and are driven through these areas every day. Like, I have PTSD from a car accident that was not my fault, got rear-ended. I see our intersections. I know we've talked about the traffic, but like bringing a business that brings people from other areas makes it worse, right? It'll increase, as everyone said, the traffic and activity spaces meant to remain calm and safe for students, like the park down the street. I remember like people in high school would go to the park to use illegal substances. Now it's legal and they can just go to the park where our kids play and they pick up vapes, and there's been instances where children have been smoked a cannabis vape and gotten sick because the parents didn't know what was going on. Brookfield has commercial corridors better suited for a dispensary that do not overlap with our children's daily routines. Families choose Brookfield because it's safe and family-centered. Allowing a dispensary so close to this elementary school and the Montessori sends the wrong message about our priorities. I respectfully ask the board to reject or relocate this proposal and put our well-being of our children first. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, my name is Sam Griffin. I live at 4153 Elm Avenue. As you saw, Tanya is my mom, so I'm a bit biased here. But I've lived in Brookfield for 5 years. We bought our house in 2020. My wife and I have 2 kids, 4 and 2. And, a lot of the points, valid, everybody concerns, I get it. But where I keep coming back to when I'm sitting there is the cordial is right there on 31st and Maple, and you have a liquor store right there to the right. I think when we're talking about our children's routes to school, things like that, when we talk about crime statistics, fights happening in parking lots, we need to consider alcohol as a leading, cause of something like that, as opposed to, somebody going in and out of a dispensary, which I want to make sure that point was made. It feels like you're going into a pharmacy. It feels like you're going into a bank, not a bar or liquor store somewhere to hang out. So just wanted to make sure that was clear.
Thank you.
That's it from me.
Hi, my name is Melissa Martinez. I live at the 3100 block of Elm, so apparently 250 to 500 feet from the business location, because I got one of the letters. I've been living in Brookfield for 8 years, and I'm originally from Iowa, and I do think it's a little crazy to have a cannabis location this close to my home. I do wish you and your business and your family well, but I hope that you can find another location for your business. I pass maybe 2 to 3 possible dispensaries on my 7-minute drive to work at Loyola on a daily basis. So I know there's other locations around where you could buy this product if needed. My family includes 3 small children, and they cross that intersection by the Michoacana 2 times a day during the summer, sometimes 4 times a day there and back, crossing 31st. I already have a lot of anxiety with them crossing the street due to the traffic on 31st, and this would just increase that. Your business looks very nice, but I do have concerns for people using your high-end product in the car when they get outside of the business after buying it, because when you buy something very nice, you want to use it right away, and that's where possible odors and other problems will start. I also, in my work, would not say that cannabis does not carry risks and side effects. I work at a local trauma center in the emergency room, and I see people under the influence of cannabis daily, and I see multiple people that are car accident victims and et cetera. I have concern for the general public crossing 31st and Maple, let alone people under the influence of cannabis, because we are frequently awoken to the sounds of brakes and crunching metal from our house at that intersection. So I do not think that this would benefit the problem at all. So I do request that you do not place this business in our neighborhood.
Hi, my name's Lauren Baker. I live at 9101 29th Street, which really is Park Avenue, so the same street as the potential business. And I come up here not as an argument against marijuana at all, but as someone who's lived 11 years in the neighborhood, a mom across from Candy Cane Park, I can really see, and my neighbors thankfully had a lot to say, and you can see we're all very invested on keeping our neighborhood a safe place. Everyone has mentioned the problematic traffic issues and safety of motorists cutting through, and the daycare issue of that was denied. We recently, no one mentioned, we recently gained a traffic speed monitoring device on Park Avenue. Because there were so many traffic safety concerns, a journalist reached out to residents in our neighborhood and wrote an article regarding it because they felt as if our issue was not being heard. And essentially, it's just you're attempting to squeeze like a destination business in on a side street. I mean, the side street is the parking and the route, you know, in a residential neighborhood. So it is a bus route. It is, you know, a place that the daycare walks down. And there's insufficient parking. That parking lot with 12 spots, you said one's going to be taken away for handicap. There's 3 other businesses on the other side, so that really doesn't leave much in left. You know, we saw with La Milicana, the whole reason the other parking lot was built is because of the concerns when people drive down 31st and they try to make a right. It's really dangerous on 31st Street, which is right a block from our most dangerous intersection, an accident-prone intersection. And I myself, you know, as heading home, have almost, I've had to stop very aggressively to avoid an accident because somebody was crossing from La Milicana across the street multiple times. And everyone in my neighborhood I know has had the same issue. Traffic coming from the west on 31st turning north encounters an obstructive view from the building because it's so close to the street. I mean, you're talking about the space backs up right to the street. And the traffic will obviously increase in the neighborhood past the park. I don't think anyone's mentioned about this planned stretch is already thin Brookfield Police Patrol. I wouldn't say in our North Brookfield area there's not many police officers that we generally see, and I don't know if this fact is true, but a police officer told us there's only about 3 officers on patrol at a time. I mean, Brookfield's a pretty big town, so that's a little bit of an issue for me as well. And other than safety, I do feel like what message does Brookfield want to send? You know, as someone who's lived here 11 years, I've seen like our town went in from mostly elderly people, not much going on, now it's a great place to live. I mean, our property values have raised, like people are interested in moving here, and now it's going to look, honestly, I think it will deter people. It will affect property values. Who's going to want to be like, oh, here's a liquor store, and now here's a dispensary, you know, and like a lot of people spoke like we live in this little nook, like this is our Brookfield and this is our community. So, you know, unfortunately, there's no shade to the other side. There's actually like my family members are kind of part of this proposal, so it puts me in a really awkward spot. But when I heard about this, I felt strongly enough where it's like no shade to them. It's financial gain, and like I'm all for that for Brookfield. And I'm not saying no. I just not here, not this location, right now. So, thank you very much.
My name's Charlie O'Malley, and I live at 9143 Lincoln. Great points from everyone. I'm all about safety. I'm all about kids, and those are my nieces and nephews, so I'm all for that. You know, I think one of the big things is, you know, I live right near a very busy place, too. I live right near Gross School, which is one of the biggest things on Brookfield Connections, people zooming past there and people not stopping at that crosswalk. You know, 8 Corners is right there. There's a liquor store right there. Does that, that doesn't make a difference. You know, if the liquor store's there, it's just a busy thing. 8 Corners, you know, there's crashes all the time there, you know? So, and to the thing of, hey, Brookfield has deviates, I've heard that my whole life too. I grew up in Brookfield till I was 7, then I did move to LaGrange, and I heard it from the kids at school too. But guess what? Brookfield's on the up and up. And what we're doing is we're just expanding and getting into the future. Let's break down stigmas and And come on, it's a business, just like anything else. There's a liquor store down the street. I remember people going there and buying liquor when they were underage, So, it's a new business. It's regulated. The streets and things like that, I don't think it's very related. I live right next to Gross School and the library. People zoom down my street and I yell at them daily. I don't see a huge issue there, and I just wanted to say, hey, I'm all for safety, guys. I'm all for it, but I don't think that this is a safety issue. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Julia Espinoza. I live in LaGrange Park. My address is 1200 Harrison, LaGrange Park. But I'm unique because I grew up in this town. I was born on 3112 Park Avenue, which is very close. That used to be my favorite place to go. It was called Brook Park Pharmacy. So if you guys have been here for over 36 years, you'd remember that. And it's always been a dangerous street. I agree. There are liquor stores, there are schools. We are a vibrant community. But I think what we're forgetting to look at is we are looking at adding something new. We're not looking to detract. Like, we can't take away a bar license. We can't take away a liquor license just because we decide we don't want that anymore. That's not how licenses work. So, while I get the point, like when you purchased a house, you knew that the school was already there. You didn't purchase a house knowing the dispensary was there. So I think, while valid points, and agree, I don't care about dispensaries. It's not about that at all for me. It is just not a safe place. My sister, we grew up crossing that street multiple times a day. The pharmacist was my best friend. He gave me a 10% discount on candy bars. But my sister got hit by a car. And it was actually very interesting because the car was reversing out of those parking lots. You cannot, you guys would have to do something with the traffic pattern. You guys would have to do something with a barricade. It is not a safe place. We have been begging for a left turn signal at 31st in Maple for years. I used to walk to school at St. Louis every day, and I saw multiple car crashes. There were multiple times I had to jump back from an intersection. We all know that that intersection is terrible. We are just going to confound the problem. And so it's not about taking away. It's looking forward. What are we adding? What do we lose when we add things? When we add things, we gain, but we also lose. So I think looking at both sides is very important. So I also am going to ask that you don't support this movement.
Anyone else?
Hello, my name's Megan Allen. I'm at 9431 Jefferson. I just found out about this today from a friend who actually spoke a few minutes ago. So I'm gonna keep it brief. I tried to narrow down my thoughts. I did a quick Google. Okay, first of all, it's good for business. We know that Brookfield has had a hard time getting businesses in here. We've got a few that have left this year that we know about. So it's a business. It's more, I don't know if you've been in a dispensary. It's legit more like walking into an Apple store than a dive bar. It's good for the village. I understand there are safety concerns, and I'm confident the village will address those. My son fishes. He crosses 31st Street on a regular basis with more equipment than I care to admit that I allow him to carry. 6 years on the school board I served at D95. Not once did I hear any issues from anybody regarding the liquor store nearby. Never heard about any degenerates hanging out there, nothing like that. I did look up a quick stat on crime. I heard someone reference the fight at Maribus in a completely different village, different makeup. General crime rates, national studies show that overall crime, property crime and minor crimes like fights pretty much stayed the same, not an increase or a decrease. As far as real estate, according to the NAR, the National Association of Realtors, 44% of agents state that there's really no change in property value with or without a dispensary. The NAR is a pretty reliable source. 12-car parking. I was listening to a podcast the other day. It's a podcast that's labor related, but in the podcast they stated that by 2030, the cannabis is going to generate about $30 billion a year in America. Doesn't Brookfield want to be a part of that? It's more secure than banks. I've worked at banks for a significant portion of my career. I've also walked into a few dispensaries. I like my gummies. I've had to go through more security to get into a dispensary, and they do regulate the parking lots. There's always security out in the parking lot, at least at the few that I've patronized. I also just think it's great that we're not bringing in one of these huge corporate dispensary companies. We're bringing in a mom and pop business with the special use permits. Anyone who's been following the cannabis legalization knows that when Senator Stearns and Rep. Cassidy wrote these bills, they wrote them for this reason. They wanted people who were negatively impacted by the cannabis, the war on drugs, so to speak. They wanted people to benefit from that. And we've seen way too much corporate millionaires come in and take up a lot of the licensing. It would be great to see a mom and pop shop come in and benefit from that. So I would ask that you guys pass this off to the board and say, and I mean, never mind the fact that our planner said it's on paper, it looks good. So I would ask that you guys pass this off to the board and ask that they support it. Thanks.
Hello, my name is Kevin Donovan. I live at 3115 Park Avenue, which is just a few houses down. I want to just talk again about property values. A lot has been talked about of how much a dispensary can impact the property values nearby, but not much has been said about how much a vacant lot can impact the nearby property values. Now, I know there have been other proposals for businesses, and it's unfortunate that that daycare didn't go through because of the parking situation. But it's well known, every study that I have seen, and I even did some research on this myself. I've went to school for geographic information systems. I did a study for Maywood on how foreclosures and vacant properties negatively impact the property values nearby. You've got this spot that's been vacant for 6 years, and I'm not sure how long, but there's the location on the southeast side of 31st and Maple. There's nothing there right now. More vacant properties are just going to increase or decrease the property values nearby. A business there, we would want it to be successful. I don't think a dispensary is going to be a destination from nearby neighborhoods. You've got a dispensary in Riverside, you've got a dispensary in Broadview, you've got a dispensary in North Riverside, and you've got a dispensary in Hodgkins. Most of the business is going to stay relatively local. There's also the property itself, the value there, a vacant property itself, commercial. The longer it goes without a tenant, the lower that those values are, the less taxes the community collects. Now, I don't have, really any opinion on whether it's a dispensary or not, but I have been to a dispensary. I've been to the Starbuds in Riverside. I can tell you that it's perfectly safe. You walk in, they have enormous amount of security. Earlier this year at this location, a window was smashed. I don't know the details of that incident, but I walked my dog down there. There was glass laying across the sidewalk for days, and I still avoid walking my dog past that spot just because there's could be some stray pieces of glass. So the security that I've seen at dispensaries in the past, I don't think, they had cameras on the outside, yeah, I think that would actually discourage incidents like that. And I think any business in there would be quicker to clean up. Again, I am not particularly passionate about a dispensary, but I don't know of any other proposals for that location. And if you can get something there, get one less vacant property on 31st, I think that would be a benefit to the community. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Good evening. Can you hear me? Okay. Good evening. My name is Patrick Coy. I've lived on and off at 9114 30th Street, Brookfield. I've lived in Brookfield for quite a long time. Went to elementary school at Brook Park, S.E. Gross, high school, RB. I've noticed the village change quite a bit throughout the years, as it's been noted. And I've noticed such an ethos of young adults, young families attracted to Brookfield because of the amenities and the growing nature that's around it. I'm a young adult. I'm 26 years old. I have plenty of friends that use cannabis recreationally and medically. My problem's not with cannabis, but I think the image here and the ethos here of Brookfield doesn't fit a dispensary. I know there's quite a bit of bars. I know that's not great for the neighborhood either. No one's perfect, but all I know is that the ethos that we're trying to build, I don't think that really includes a dispensary. I know the net profit would be enticing, but I don't think we should think about the profit that we're gonna obtain from the dispensary here. I think we should look at the longevity of the people that we want to bring in, the residents, and the property value that my mom just talked about. Other than that, I just, as a young adult, don't think it's a great space for a dispensary. And if we could find a better space to anchor this business in Brookfield, I think that would be a perfect opportunity for them, but just not at the location proposed. Thank you for your time, and have a wonderful night.
Anyone else? Okay, just keep in mind that now I'm gonna give the petitioner an opportunity to answer any questions if they see fit. If not, then I will close this portion of the meeting, and then you gotta listen to us. So if there's anything else you wanna say, all right, so
I'm gonna be
petitioner.
very, very brief. I did listen to everyone, and thank you for your comments. I'm most concerned about your kids, obviously, and I will tell you that having built these dispensaries across the country, we are so protective of that. I do not believe, but this is only my opinion, that cannabis brings the negative stigmas and brings down the community the way you're thinking, or the way that you're projecting. I will tell you that a quick Google search around property values, and this might make everyone feel a little better, particularly studies in Naperville and the ones around Illinois. The first three, if you Google this, will show you that property values increase when a cannabis dispensary comes into a community like Brookfield, as no less than 2%. So that's the good news on property values. Obviously, the kids are our primary concern, and the stigma that you're feeling around the cannabis plant, but I think we should remember it is a plant. It has never killed anyone. It is a far, far safer alternative to alcohol. It is less addictive than alcohol, and I think that we are seeing across generations people using this plant for pain, for anxiety, and to help with sleep, and just to help cope. And I don't think it's the demon that we're sort of projecting it to be. And but I do appreciate all of your words, and really about the kids. We need to educate them. We need to teach
them. They need to know what is around them because everything else is dangerous, in my opinion. We see the overdose epidemic. I have a nonprofit called Save My Life where we give out free Narcan, and it's not because I think anyone using any of these drugs should be shamed or are junkies. Quite the opposite. Everyone deserves a second chance. And we shouldn't shame or stigmatize anyone, what they're doing. So I think if we think about that and we look at where the cannabis industry is going, and the 30 billion is a number, but it's actually much higher than that. We as a world, as humans, are giving up on alcohol. We're choosing safer drugs. And I think Brookfield could choose to be a part of that. We will be great community members, I promise you. And we want to be very involved in this community. And we got a great family to do it, who will show up every day and bring a dispensary that's not owned by, oh, sorry guys, by a big multinational. I didn't mean to, but I wanted them to feel okay about the dispensary. Okay, I'm done.
Before we close the public portion of this meeting, I actually have a question for staff. I know there's a radius that a dispensary has to be away from a school, and I've heard the Montessori schools, so have they met that standard?
Yes.
Yes, okay, all right. So with that said, petitioner has responded. I'll entertain a motion to close the public.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman?
Hold on. Oh, that's right. I have in my hands two packages of letters, some in favor of the dispensary and some not in favor of dispensary. These will be entered into public comment by staff, so if anybody wants to read those, that'll be in the minutes as we move forward.
And I would add, Mr. Chairman, we received one more this evening for someone who didn't speak
Okay,
here.
so we got another one. So kudos to everybody that participated. So now I will entertain a motion to close the public comment portion of the hearing and open it up to discussion to the commissioners.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Evans.
Aye.
Commissioner Miller.
Aye.
Commissioner Sabor.
Aye.
Commissioner Svoboda.
Aye.
Commissioner Straight.
Aye.
Commissioner Weber, aye. Chairperson Grunt.
Aye. Who wants to start?
I have a question. What is the minimum age for purchasing cannabis? 21, like alcohol, okay.
Why is everybody so shy?
Well, I think that this property continues to bring challenges, right? And we heard it from some of the people who spoke tonight. You know, if I think back to my 3 years on the board here, two most populated meetings, this one and when we tried to put a daycare there, both had, don't put it there because it's a problem. So I'm not sure what becomes not a problem for that location. If a daycare is a problem to put there and a dispensary is a problem to put there, what, oh, nope, my turn. What is it that goes there? We have people that are hit by it in the past that when it's a pharmacy, right? So I'm not sure that there's this, wide open space for what this is, but we keep hearing from the pocket that each of the things that comes to us poses challenges. And that's the truth. Any new business is going to pose challenges to every neighborhood that it goes into. Brookfield, for those of you that don't know, has already approved this in the town on Ogden Avenue. So that is already out, the horse is running right now. That was approved. It's continued, as a matter of fact, until January. So we already have that use approved in town. Looked at that site, residential in nature, has a house right next to it. has a school closer than the school that you're referencing right now. But there were very few people at that meeting, right? So you show your passion for your neighborhood. The town itself is what's impacted by it. So those things already hold true in this case, which means we do what we're supposed to and look at the case itself, look at the property itself, look at that usage and what is there, what's conforming, and the makeup of that area. And again, this board unanimously approved a cannabis dispensary on Ogden Avenue based on all the criteria that went with it. When I look at this property, while I have no problem with the usage, I have a problem with the location. I have a problem with the location mostly because it is currently holding a residential usage as well. There are apartments that are taking up those parking spots. There is 25 or 24 inches away, you have a house or a duplex nearly touching it. And so you have to look at the compatibility of the site for that usage. And in that sense, I just don't see, when we look at that and we say we've had these things come up before about parking and all of those. Yes, we now have a parking lot across the street. I think that's incredibly beneficial to anything that develops in that space. But to have residential attached to this property, to me, right now, just doesn't seem to make sense. So again, appreciate all the comments on this. You know, we have thriving businesses in town. We look at those liquor licenses that we talked about, 37. Well, that's Burger Antics, that's Paisans, that's Mary's Morning Mix-Up, that's the Thai restaurant, Ogden, Scardelia, it's Danny's, it's Imperial Oak. Like, these are the businesses that make us up. And I'm not saying that this business would not make up the wider community and bring a positive, but when we look at the site itself, to me right now, based on some of the things with parking and residential, I'm just not seeing this being a fit. So that's where I stand with it right now.
Want to move to this side, or should we stay on this side?
I think you have to go.
At this time, I have no additional comments.
Parking seems to be one of the big issues, and when referencing that we would not recommend approval for the Montessori school in the past, their parking was a different situation than this would be. The visits are going to, at this place, are going to be like 5 minutes or 10 minutes at a time. There'll be a quick turnover, so a lot of spots don't need to be used all the time. With the Montessori school, there was a lot of people arriving at once for dropping off their kids. A lot of people arriving at once for picking them up later in the day. So that dynamic is entirely different. Why it would not be recommended for approval as opposed to the parking situation and traffic patterns associated with that in this case. If it's a dangerous intersection for a Montessori school, or for a dispensary, or for just about anything else, then nothing could go there. It'd be forever vacant property. So that's not a good enough reason to deny a recommendation for this business. Also, the stigma that seems to be attached to this is going away. We're moving forward with the acceptance of the use of cannabis in our society, in this entire country. So we must look forward, not back or be stagnant.
Okay, I'm ready to comment. I agree. I agree with Commissioner Streka. I think that we need to continue to move forward and progress in Brookfield. I've seen a lot of great progression in the last 20 years or so, and I think this is one more step towards that. The parking has been improved, and I don't think that's a reason to deny this.
If I could ask you hold your applause till the end so we can get through this, please. Go ahead, sir.
Yep. So I agree with what everybody said here on the commission thus far. The one thing we didn't have last time when we looked at this site was the parking lot. So that's a big item that's been added. So I'd recommend a continuation of this with the traffic study forthcoming that addresses not only traffic concerns but also safety concerns and recommendations. But as a use, I'm not opposed to it at this site. I think, again, the site is troublesome, but again, as Commissioner Evans mentioned, we've tried other things here. I'm not sure if there's any one solution here, so I think we're gonna have to balance somewhere in between. That's all.
Mr. Chairman, if I might,
May.
one point on traffic and accidents, collisions, as insurance people call them. We did check with our police department at this intersection, and we just went back 2 years, so, you know, not extensive, but 2 years' time. There were 3 police calls at this intersection in the last 2 years. One for a parked car in the alley that got hit by a car going down the alley. One for a car backing out of a parking space, hitting another car. And one being a fender bender at the intersection, northbound car failed to yield a right-of-way for a westbound car on on 31st Street, pardon me. No injuries, insurance information exchanged on the scene. Both parties drove away. Nothing further was the police report. So in the past 2 years, our police department's been called to this intersection for traffic issues 3 times. Those were the three occurrences.
Thank you for that. Scott? Mr. Weber?
No comment.
I think just to be fair to that statement, if we're looking at 2 to 3 years on, you know, traffic and police calls, not entirely apples to apples, because it's been a vacant building for 6 years, so you don't see the traffic that's going to come to that location, which it should. If it's going to be a thriving business, then it needs to have that traffic. So I think that using the statistics of the last 3 years probably might not necessarily give the true scope of what the impact of that area might be.
Anyone else? Well, everybody said my comments, so, but I was intrigued by, go ahead.
I just wanted to add, I was very impressed with the reminder of the security that needs to be put in place, the regulations that the state of Illinois has put into place for this type of facility. And so I think that is a positive.
Yes, and if the general public doesn't know this, the state regulates this industry very, very highly, very detailed.
All right, so it sounds like we got 2 options. We can vote with what we have before us, or if the petitioner agrees to do a traffic study, we could continue, and based on that traffic study, we can meet again.
I think I would say that, you know, taking a poll of the board up here, if that makes a difference in their eyes. For me, it's not necessarily about the traffic, it's more about what the current use of the property is that is not changing. Traffic is probably one of my lesser concerns, but
I agree.
yeah.
Same here.
All right.
Now, question for staff.
Yep.
Would a traffic study also include possible recommended changes to make that area safer, given the type of business that might be there? Signage, restricted turn lanes?
Sure. If I might, a general traffic study would look at, of course, existing volume of traffic, directional distribution of of those volumes, of ADTs and so forth, and it would take based on the ITE, golly, what's it mean? International Traffic Engineers, they have traffic projections based on use. You know, a pharmacy has so many cars, a shoe store has so many cars, things like that. So then they would say, okay, a 2,900 square foot dispensary would have a generation of X, and the trip distribution would be, you know, east, west, north, south. They would be asked to make recommendations. You know, normally we'll see them say, if we do a gas station, do you have a right-in, right-out only type of thing? In this instant case, there's really the only access to the site, of course, is in the rear. So that trip distribution of traffic on or off the property would be somewhat limited, but they can make recommendations that often do. You know,
And given
to-
the fact that it involves 31st Street, is that a decision that the village could make, or is that, would the county also have to offer their approval for any changes in signage or
Yeah, my,
available turning on 31st Street?
I think it's the state
state,
jurisdiction on, excuse me, I always say Route 31, that's by my house, on 31st Street.
So there.
We'd have to get the state to
consultant's
approve
possible
whatever
suggestions would have to be
the village
reviewed
would
and approved
recommend.
by state of Illinois.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
You know, we've had conversations like this before, traffic study, no traffic study. You know, what happens if it ultimately gets approved and there's problems on the site? And to me, based on the presentation, you know, the owner being good stewards, if there was issues, they would handle those issues with signage, I would think. We've been through this on other properties before, so, I think, you know, the presentation was quite thorough, thank you for that. Thanks for all the comments. Like I said, we very seldom get this many people. We understand everything, we're sensitive. I think we should vote what's on the table and move on. So if somebody would like to make a motion, I'm happy to.
I make the motion that we recommend approval for case number 2518, request for a special use permit to allow a cannabis dispensary at 9046 31st Street, because they've met the standards of review, and we would have conditions 1 through 5 as the staff has presented. And I think that we should include the parking lot shall be seal-coated and striped as approved by village and village standards.
I'll second.
Commissioner Evans?
No.
Commissioner Miller?
Aye.
Commissioner Saborn?
Aye.
Commissioner Svoboda?
No.
Commissioner Straka?
Aye.
Commissioner Weber? No. Chairman Grunt?
Aye. All right, so like I said earlier, we are an advisory body. This will now go to the village board, and that meeting, putting Libby on the spot as I always do, will be. January 12th. This will come before the village board, and it'll be a similar presentation. So all the best to residents, the petitioner. We have one more case, so if you're not gonna stay for that case, if you could leave quietly, because we have to keep going. All right, while they're finding out, next case is a.
I know the public comments over.
Good, ask staff.
Daycares are too, so, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or if we're doing
off we go. Second case today, public hearing, case number. Oh, that's right. Motion to close the public hearing for case number 2518.
So
Request
moved.
for special use.
So moved.
Second.
Todd, that was you. Commissioner Evans.
Aye.
Commissioner Miller.
Aye.
Commissioner Saborn.
Aye.
Commissioner Swoboda.
Aye.
Commissioner Straight.
Aye.
Commissioner Weber. Aye. Chairperson Grund.
Aye. Next case, public hearing, case number 2517, a request for a parking variation from section 62.920 to reduce required parking from 37 to 15 in an existing C4 local retail district residential district for property located at 9132 31st Street, which has the Mexican restaurant whose name I can never pronounce, because I've been there many times. So with that said, this case is a request for a parking variation, so it triggers a public hearing. I'd like to entertain a motion to open that public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Evans.
Aye.
Commissioner Miller.
Aye.
Commissioner Saborn.
Aye.
Commissioner Swoboda.
Aye.
Commissioner Straight.
Aye.
Commissioner Weber. Aye. Chairperson Grund.
Aye. Applicant, you've been here patiently the whole time. Thank you for your patience. Come to the mic, state your name and address, and present your case to us, please.
Give me a second. All right, good evening, everyone. I know
Speaking to the mic, please, so we can
All
hear
right.
you.
Good evening, everyone. I know everybody wants to go home. I'll make this quick. But I'm Gustavo Leon Jr. I'm 9132 West 31st Street. And I'll be speaking on behalf of my father. So we
Sorry
are.
again, speaking to the mic.
Okay, my fault.
Or you can raise it up, too.
All right. Wait, I could raise it up. No, right? No, it's fine. All right. So we are the owners of Taqueria El Grande. We established in 2022. We've been in the culinary industry for about, well, my dad has been there for about 20 years. I'm going into my 5th year. And being a new business owner, it was a little terrifying at first, especially coming out of COVID. But luckily we had a great community around us. I want to give a huge thanks to the village staff for helping us out throughout the whole, from the start. Why do we want to expand, you guys might ask? Business is great, of course, but that's not one of the main reasons that we want to expand. And, if anyone here has been in our restaurant, I know you guys, it's a little crowded in there. It gets a little crowded. It's it's reduced. And especially when it gets busy, mostly in the weekends. We have about 30 people walking in on our busy days. We have one bathroom, and we also have a lot of handicapped people walking into our places. Our pathway into the bathroom, I believe it's pretty small for them. It's not, they have trouble walking in and out. The reason we want to expand, we want to add a second bathroom. We want to add 2 bathrooms. We want to add them to the other side of the building. That'll give them a bigger, more room for them to walk around. Move around. And it'll also give, it'll give people more comfort, meaning that tables are going to be a little more spread out. People are going to have their personal space, and that'll allow them to, just be more, have a better experience in our restaurant, because that plays a role in our business. And I know parking is the problem, but in reality, we aren't expanding for us to gain more business. And if we do, that's great, of course. But you know, we mainly do this for our customers, you know, for them to have a better experience. For us in the back, our kitchen is also a little cramped, you know, and by us expanding, it'll just allow us to have a bigger kitchen, more space for people to walk around. And I should have probably mentioned this earlier, but we became the building owners about 4 months ago. We talked about it with the other owners, but honestly, it wasn't the best idea for us to rent a spot and expand. So that's why we got the place. Now it's. And I mean, in reality, we love the way Brookfield has treated us from the beginning, from anybody that lives in it. They give us they make us find a way to make stuff better for our customers, and that's mainly the reason why we're here. We just want to expand for our customers, for us, and just so that everybody can have a great time. The village is pretty well known because of the zoo and stuff, and I don't really see a lot of Mexican restaurants around here, but I feel like us expanding and us being there, it'll just give us it'll give us more business in a way. And give me a second. And yeah, that's honestly it, man. I just want to, we just want to make the best we can for our customers, and if we can make that possible, we'll try as much as we can.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Staff?
I will be brief as well. Here's the property. Of course, it's 9132. Similar to the last case, it's owned C4 east and west, residential to the north and south. Gas station to the west, and a car repair shop north of that, and non-conforming multifamily to the east. Same thing. Site's 12,500 square feet. You have the building, multiple tenant building. Of course, Maywood Appliances there, and Taqueria El Grande is the petitioners here. They're moving in. Well, I'll one more. Oh, the architect was nice enough to give us this historical perspective. There's not a whole lot's changed in the last 20 years, so I put this in there. So here's the building. Of course, the restaurant's the far on the right. Maywood Appliances on the left. And the space in the middle is where they're looking to expand into. There's a site plan that shows the 15 cars to the front. There are no parking spaces to the rear and on the alley. I put this in. Of course, our code talks about off-site parking within 1,000 feet. This is about 300 feet to 325 feet, I guess it is, to the public parking lot on the corner there of Park Avenue. This is the existing restaurant. You can see it's, as the applicant said, it's tight. It's tight. Here's their proposed floor plans. You can see it basically doubling the size. Kitchen gets larger, seating area gets larger, spread things out and make it more comfortable for the customers. And the standards, we're all familiar with the standards for variations. We've had variations like this in the past. The one that comes to mind most recently is La Michoacana on Broadway, where an existing building, no room to add any other parking, and a change in use. La Michoacana was retail to the ice cream. This was Maywood Appliance. It was retail, but becoming a restaurant, the parking calculation changes. That's why we're here, unlike the petition we had before, where it's retail to retail. So we believe that they meet the standards, and we recommend approval to help this business out and keep things going forward. That's all.
Questions of staff? I was remiss in not swearing in the petitioner, so I apologize for that. If there's anybody from the public that would like to speak on this case, can you stand up so I can swear you in? Hearing none. No questions. questions of staff? So then I would entertain a motion to close this public comment portion of this meeting with a roll call vote, with a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Evans.
Aye.
Commissioner Miller.
Aye.
Commissioner Sabon.
Aye.
Commissioner Svoboda.
Aye.
Commissioner Straker.
Aye.
Commissioner Weber, aye. Chairperson Grumman.
Aye. Pretty clear to me. I have nothing to say. This time?
I've been in your restaurant many, many times. Very good food, thank you. Only question I have is, yes, parking can be a bear. And hopefully with the increased footprint, you will get more business to pay those bigger bills. And the one thing I've noticed is that almost constantly you have, since you're the owner of the strip mall as a whole, including Deep Lines, in many cases, there are vehicles not temporarily parked, but seem to be left there 24/7. And is there any possibility of perhaps suggesting that any vehicles that may have been non-operating or just left there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, be moved off-site to open up what might be up to 3 spots?
So, if I'm being honest, so we've been in, we own the building for about 4 months as of right now. But we've already talked about it in between us. You know, we've been trying to talk to Maple Appliance, hoping that they could at least move some of their vehicles, because we do know that they have some of they at least leave 3 vehicles without moving most of the time. So if we could work something out with them, that'll allow us to get 3 more spaces, because in reality, our restaurant, people are coming in and out, in and out, you know. Most they're gonna stay is about an hour. But if we could probably convince them or work something out, I feel like that'll be even better for us, because that'll circulate the parking in our building, and that'll allow more people to come in and out.
And are your employees currently parking in the same spot, or do you try to park off?
So no, that's my fault. That's something that we honestly do not allow, because we have a couple of employees, so it'll be about 3 cars each day, and that'll take 3 more, which meaning that'll be 6 parking lots that are gonna be occupied for most of the day. So we sometimes we look out on the street. I forget the name of it. I'm not familiar with the village still yet.
But you don't let your employees park in?
No.
Right.
Yeah.
That answers the question.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
If you are the,
Go ahead.
you're the owner of the building and that parking lot?
Yeah.
So the Maywood Appliance leases that space from you?
Yeah.
So I think, I don't know how the lease agreement is written, but I think you as the owner can tell them to.
Yeah. So
They can't.
we've tried. It's just they're a little harsh on their. They say that they need some of their vehicles, but we're gonna try as much as we can, because that's like we've told them before. A parking lot has to keep moving. It has to keep flowing in order for it to not get packed and not get crowded. You know.
Okay,
Thank you.
Is there any opportunity at the rear of the building? I know that it's a fenced-in area.
Wait, can you repeat that again? My fault.
Is there any opportunity to add additional parking at the rear?
At the rear of the so there is the fence. How do I tell you? That's something that we're planning on also doing, but that's not. That's probably like a little later on, you know, because we do have a lot of permits and stuff. We still got to build the restaurant, but that's something that we are looking forward to as well.
I think a good problem to have here. I think this board has been lenient in the past on parking, especially for expanding buildings and usages, and I think you'll hear good things about Maywood Appliance as well, going out and really helping the community. You guys are fantastic. Your queso is out of this world.
Appreciate it.
And to see more people being able to come and be a part of that is great. But you're right, you need to circulate that lot, and the more spaces that you can get, the better. So working through that would be good. I don't have a problem with this, but it's true, it's packed.
Yeah.
And it's hard to get in there, and that's a great problem to have, but it probably limits some of your customer base
Yeah,
too.
of course it does. Of course it does.
Anything else?
I do.
Go ahead, Karen.
Congratulations on being so successful.
I appreciate
And
it.
more power to you in terms of wanting to improve on the rest of the building.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah.
And honestly, we do it. We do it because of the community. Community, you know. You get everybody. Everyone is great in here, and that's what we love, you know. So.
Anything else? All right, I'll do the motion for expediency. I'll recommend approval of parking variation to reduce the required number of parking spaces from 37 to 15 at 9132 31st Street.
So moved.
Second. Okay, who will be the winner on the tie? Steve. Commissioner Evans.
Aye.
Commissioner Miller.
Aye.
Commissioner Saborn.
Aye.
Commissioner Svoboda.
Aye.
Commissioner Strata.
Aye.
Commissioner Weber, aye. Chairperson Grund.
Aye. So again, the meeting will be on the 12th, January. Good luck.
All right. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate every single one of you guys. Thank
you.
I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing for case number 2517.
So moved.
At
Second.
9:21.
Second.
Commissioner Evans.
Aye.
Commissioner Miller.
Aye.
Commissioner Saborn.
Aye.
Commissioner Svoboda.
Aye.
Commissioner Strata.
Aye.
Commissioner Weber, aye. Chairperson Grund.
Aye. Staff updates. Libby time or Scott time.
Thank you for responding for our special workshop. I think I heard from all of you for January 28th, and this is for the zoning code. I know it's well ahead and after the holidays, but we have a lot of people to coordinate for that night. So if anything changes, let me know. Otherwise, our next meeting is January 22nd, and the village is moving forward with their petition for revocation of the special use on the other cannabis dispensary.
Can you go back on the date, the first
Oh,
date that
yes,
you said?
January 28th, Wednesday at 6 o'clock.
Thank you.
To allow time to, Arista's going to be here from Camiros to go through the 2.0 modifications.
Thank you.
Will we be getting the modifications beforehand, or will we be seeing them then?
Yeah, you'll be seeing them. She's finalizing them right now. So we just had the meeting to finalize the map and go over what notices have to go out. So she doesn't anticipate having that ready until like beginning of January. But as soon as we,
We'll have a couple weeks ahead of time.
absolutely, yeah. As soon as we can get all that together and send it out, we will.
Great.
So great.
Anything else?
That's it.
Well, before we adjourn, I say, I understand it's good to everyone.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Same. Motion to adjourn at,
9:21 PM. We're done?
oh, we're done.
Yes, we're good.
Yeah, we did, okay.
We are,
So we did a two for one.
John's I think be interested in looking at John's, the old John's restaurant, right? These guys. I don't know, I'm waiting, it's been empty forever. Would be no opposition. Right, yeah, I'm sure it's a stopover in most cases. Right, yeah, well, Bob Uppies, yeah, he was wasn't he a principal in the whole thing too?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He went to work for the editor.
Oh, of course, yeah. Rattle them off.
Merry Christmas.
Well, it wasn't too painful.
No.
discussing it. It's always good.
Well, it's nice when there's a presentation that is engaging and
I echo what you just said. I thought it was fair. I thought people were knowledgeable. I thought they kind of sort of tried to not be the same. You know, we heard different points from different.
just to have the applicant come up and actually interest you in what they're saying.
Yeah, she was quite fascinating.
Both the real estate guy and the.
Yeah, that first
were
part
both
was a little
wonderful.
bit
He was a little
unnecessary.
He was a little bit. He was a little. So.
Get up and go to work.
But she was great.
Nice combination of facts and emotional.
Well, we'll see.
No, you're not coming in late on Friday morning. And they're like, no, well, we don't do that here. So I'll be here at 9 o'clock. Why don't I come back? So
That's good. That's good. All right. Yeah. All right. Ciao.
And you're like, it's literally, you're like, it's actually Brookfield Liquors.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, you guys. Take care. was interesting. I like the applause, and you know, it was all good stuff.
So normally we've got an empty house. It's nice to have people.